position.
Okay. So thank you for the response to my question. I'm afraid I don't share your optimism of how the Labour government is going to help you meet your carbon budget. The government can't be trusted to tackle climate change when they're expanding airports and have U-turned from the £28 billion they were originally going to spend on the Green New Deal to concentrate on unproven carbon capture and storage. The government continues with austerity, and they're not going to provide councils with the funding required to achieve net zero. So I would like Sheffield Council to begin a campaign to try to secure the necessary resources that you need to meet net zero from the government. And I'd like you to amend the Climate Action Report, which you're discussing later on the agenda, in two important ways. Firstly, it's very important to be transparent about how Sheffield Council have significantly overspent their carbon budget with an increasing deficit each year. That's why I've given you these graphs. You need to explain that getting to net zero by 2030 will need dramatically deeper change than it did 6 years ago. Previous plans need replacing with emergency responses which reflect reality. Secondly, it's vital for the report to explain the hothouse Earth theory, which is now a real possibility because worldwide temperatures are consistently above the 1.5 degrees centigrade threshold. Human-caused greenhouse gas emissions may now trigger a series of self-reinforcing feedback loops, leading to a runaway heating effect where global temperatures rise significantly beyond pre-industrial levels, causing massive sea level rise and rendering large parts of the planet uninhabitable. It would lead to the collapse of society and the loss of billions of lives, and this must be avoided at all costs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wroe, for your supplementary question. Of course, whilst we all value this open dialogue on the issue, our primary focus does have to remain on delivering outcomes. And citizens are always encouraged to participate in our democratic process, but it's important to recognise that responding to inquiries inevitably takes officers away from their core work that directly contributes to the progress that we all care about when it comes to tackling the climate emergency. So, for example, in this case, whilst assisting officers whilst assisting in drafting responses for me on this issue and other queries, the officer responsible was also working to score the local area energy plan tenders ahead of a critical 5 p.m. deadline yesterday. This task is essential for decarbonising Sheffield's energy network, a key focus and priority for this city. And I hope you can appreciate that this has been our focus. We are, of course, busy delivering. As reported last year, our annual climate report once again is clear that urgent action is needed at scale, not seen before, and in order for us to be able to achieve our 2030 ambition. Sheffield is not unusual amongst local authorities in the challenges that we do face, and we continue to work really closely with other leading councillors and councils across the country to influence national policy and push for the necessary changes to escalate our activity. Alongside this, we're also actively exploring options to secure investment. We're also working with Simca and South Yorkshire's Mayor Oliver Coppard to secure additional resources from government as part of the single settlement proposals. Additionally, we have included an assessment of the annual carbon budget within our annual report, which highlights that Sheffield has already used over half, which is 54% of the total carbon budget. To remain within the recommended limit, the city would need to achieve average CO2 mitigation rates of minus 12.3% per year from 2020 onwards, reaching zero or near zero carbon, which will be a 95% reduction no later than 2045. These challenges are significant, and whilst we remain committed to engaging with residents and stakeholders, our priority must be delivering the transformational changes that are needed in order to meet our climate commitments. And it's important to thank you for coming today, but I think it's also important to say that in preparing for answering many questions today, our officers are taken away from the core purpose of what they need to be doing, and that really is our response to the climate emergency. We are doing some amazing things, and we do want to continue to work with the wider Sheffield community in order to be able to deliver on our climate commitments. So thank you, Mr. Wroe, for your question. Our next